Hello, Gemma Gilbert here. This is take 2 after my sound didn't work. I want to talk to you today about 5 ways you can up-level your mindset and your energy to serve more powerfully when leading a group call. Now, this is super duper important if you have a group program. If you get this wrong, basically people won't show up to your calls. They won't listen, they won't engage, and they'll leave the call feeling that wasn't really worth their time. And there is nothing worse than one of those group calls, which is like 90 minutes long, and you feel like you are waiting your turn. So you're disengaged, you're on your phone or on Facebook, waiting for your opportunity to speak. Like 90 minutes so you can get value for 10 is not a good use of their time. Whereas when you get this right, your clients are excited to show up to the calls, they listen, they engage, and they leave with this feeling like that was worth my time. I got all of these amazing learnings. And a comment I often get from my clients is, I came with one problem and I left solving another. I didn't even know what I needed to know until I heard that group discussion. And when you have that effect on your clients, they're going to feel like they're making a good investment, right? In you, in the program, in the community that they are a part of. So it is well worth your attention, making sure you're leading your group calls powerfully. So the first thing you need to do is show up powerfully in the first place. So you want to get pumped before a call, much like you do on a live video, right? If you start like super low energy, your shoulders are hunched, they're going to sense that energy and that's how they're going to show up. Whereas if you do like your Amy Cuddy power pose stance or like superhero before, play some music, get yourself into a pumped up state so that when you show up on that call, you're asking them to raise their vibration, their energy level to meet yours. And a little extra tip that isn't actually part of my 5, welcome people by name. Hey Sarah, hey Amelia, hey David, welcome to the call Daniel. Like, make people feel seen. This is one of your biggest challenges when running a group program, is how you scale empathy and how you make people feel seen. Right now, when you're working one-on-one with people, this is easy, right? You're sat on a Zoom call with them one-on-one, staring them in the face. They feel seen and supported. If you have a group of 8 to 30 to 40 people, right, how do you make sure that they don't feel invisible on that program? So one simple thing you can do is welcome them by name the second they jump into that Zoom room, and immediately they're going to stand up to attention. They've been called out. They're going to smile, they're going to wave, they're going to say hi in the chat, and they're going to be paying attention. Whereas before, they were probably ready to sit back and be passive in that call. Right, second step to raise your energy and serve powerfully is to check your mindset before a call. Now, on a group call, what your clients are going to bring is all of their struggles. They're going to say all of the obstacles they're facing, everything they're struggling with. If you do not show up powerfully and you haven't checked your mindset, you will start to create a story that you can't help them, that your program isn't good enough, that they're struggling because of something to do with you, rather than it being a struggle that of course they're going to have, right? I help people create an Evergreen group program and get consistent leads for it. So of course, people are going to struggle with lead flow, but that doesn't mean I'm not good enough or my program isn't good enough. That means that's a really common objection, and I have to be able to show up powerfully and help them navigate that, not get in my own head and let my ego run the call rather than my ability as a coach and a mentor. Thirdly even, third thing to raise your energy and mindset to lead a call powerfully is to use the chat wisely in a Zoom session. Now, it would be very easy to do this kind of hot seat coaching where you coach one person and then the next person and then the next person. And you kind of forget when you're doing that you've got 10, 20, 30 other people in the room listening. You have to engage all of them all the time. So how do you do this? Firstly, when someone brings a struggle, don't get into the really nitty-gritty of their individual struggle, right? Get them to articulate what they're struggling with and then pull it back to the wider context so it's relevant for everyone. So instead of going, right, so how many emails did you send? How many responses did you get? Say, right, so it sounds like we're talking about lead flow. So let's step back a second, right? If you can contextualize the problem so it's relevant for everyone, that's going to make your Zoom session so much more powerful. But secondly, get people to be using the chat. So if someone says, oh, I'm struggling with my sales calls, I'm only converting at 20% or 10%, say, great, let's talk about this. Everyone else, what's your sales conversion? Or are you not tracking it? So that's bringing it out to the wider group, making sure it's relevant for all. Next, get people to use the chat to pull out their learnings, right? This is so simple and so powerful. So as somebody is sharing, you can say to the group, what did you find useful about this discussion we've just had? What did you learn? What's one change you're going to make? What's one insight you had? Now you can ask that after each person, after each half an hour, at the end of the session. What you end up with is a chat full of useful learnings that people have had. You can then pull that out and share that with the group and say, like, based on our group call today, these are the key learnings that you shared with me. And you can use that to engage other members that perhaps didn't go to that group call as well in the community and say, here are the truth bombs from today's call. So you're leveraging the learnings, you're engaging the group that didn't show up, and you're making sure people are paying attention. Right, while we're on the group interaction piece, make sure you're asking for people's contribution where relevant. So for example, if someone's sharing a struggle, you can say, who else has experienced this? Right, let me know in the chat. Does anybody have anything that's helped them navigate this struggle that they could help Sarah with here? Right, and then you can pick on one or two people to contribute to the discussion, and then you're using everyone in the group. Right, the fifth thing is to keep the pace. Just like a live video, right? There is nothing more torturous than people who speak slowly, right? We are used to receiving information fast. Online, when we're listening to videos, if I listen to a video now, I listen to it double speed. Now I already speak fast. So me on double speed, sometimes a little bit too fast. But you need to keep the pace in your group session. You do not want to have one person monopolizing the time for like 20 minutes, which means you have to become aware of the energy in the room. You have to become aware of looking at people's faces. Who's switched off? How could I engage them? Right, and if somebody's speaking for too long, cut them off. Great, got everything I need to know about that. Let's move on to this, right? And your ability to kind of pull people back when they've gone too far into the story, which isn't helpful for anyone, is going to be a really strong facilitation skill for you. So you can say, right, before we go much deeper into that area, let me just ask you this and redirect your question that pulls them back into a more helpful place. Now, in part of keeping the pace, one really great thing you can do in group calls is change the format. So don't do all hot seat coaching. Go into breakout rooms, for example, or do like a focus on one person and then do a group discussion. So if you can vary your format, that's going to keep them more engaged. Now I'm going to leave you today with some tips on breakout rooms because you can do them well and you can do them badly. Breakout rooms are so powerful if you have a larger group. You can put people into groups of 3s and 4s, but the absolute key is you need to structure the activity. So you need to say, right, we're going to go into breakout rooms and you're each going to share something you're struggling with. Now, firstly, I want you to decide what is going to be the most influential thing that you could get help on right now. What is your priority, right? I want you to articulate that priority as a question. What question could you ask? And then give them an example. For example, how can I get more traffic to my website? Great. Now I want you to write down all the things you've already tried that would be useful for the group to know to be able to help you with this. Great. Let me know in the chat. Has everybody got a problem that they need help with? Has everybody wrote down the things that the group need to know? Brilliant. Here's the format of the breakout room. You're each going to have 7 minutes. I need a timekeeper. So raise your hand if you have a phone next to you. Brilliant. When you get into the breakout room, I want you to volunteer to be the timekeeper. You're going to set 8 minutes on the timer and you're going to go in order of alphabetical names by first name. Right? When you get to the, how many minutes did I say? 8 minutes? When you get to the 7-minute point, warn the person that they have 1 minute left and ask them what their next steps are. Okay. When you structure breakout rooms powerfully, it means people go into that session knowing exactly what they have to do. There's no confusion. Then they end up having a smaller discussion with group members And these are the things that I get great feedback on. Like, that discussion gave me so many ideas. I got to interact with somebody I didn't know. I thought creatively about this problem in a different way. And in an intimate group, people feel more seen than they do in, for example, a group of 30 or 40. So they get to have a real conversation with a smaller group of people. So I'm going to recap my 5 things. So these are 5 things to raise your mindset and energy to powerfully lead a group call. Firstly, get pumped before the call, just like you do on a live video. Secondly, check your mindset. You need to be in the right place to support clients, not get in your head and start fearing whether you can get them results just because they're struggling. Number 3, use the chat wisely all the way through to get people to engage, and take the individual context and make it into the wider context so it's relevant for everyone. Number 4, keep the pace and vary the format of the call. And number 5, make sure you pull out the learnings. What did you find useful? What's your biggest insight? So people are actively engaging. When you do these 5 things, you end up with group calls that people want to show up to, they listen, and they engage. Now, if you listen to this, let me model this for you. Let me know in the comments, what's one takeaway from you? What's one insight or something that you've learned that you could implement in the next week to make your group calls more powerful? I would love to know.